Tonight, we are opening a cold case. What you're about to hear comes directly from a journal that was discovered back in 1897. It belonged to a promising young English solicitor, a man named Jonathan Harker. He was on what he thought was a completely routine business trip, a simple real estate transaction in the Carpathian Mountains. He was so wrong. What we have here are his final entries, and let's be clear, we're not treating this as a story. This is Evidence File 42. Our mission here is to piece together, using his own words, the absolutely horrifying final days of Jonathan Harker.
Let it bring my goodbye. Just let that sink in for a moment. He writes this on May 4th. He hasn't even reached his final destination yet. This isn't just a case of travel jitters, no. Something has already shaken this very practical, very professional man to his absolute core. So much so that he feels compelled to write what he clearly fears will be his last words to his fiancée. A sense of doom has already taken hold. This isn't just a journal entry, you see. It's a message in a bottle from a man who already feels like he's going under.
Okay, so let's establish the facts of the case, just as an investigator would. Our subject, Jonathan Harker. He is a man of his time. Modern, logical, a solicitor whose entire world is built on contracts, on reason, on the predictable, orderly life of Victorian England. His firm sends him to Transylvania to finalize a property deal for a foreign nobleman. The client? A man we only know as Count Dracula. And this journal, this is our primary piece of evidence. It's his own meticulous day-by-day record of his journey and his experiences.
Now, to really understand what happened to Jonathan Harker, you have to understand the man himself. And the most important thing to know is this. He is not a fantasist, not even close. He's a man of business, of facts and figures. He's on what should be a completely standard assignment. And his journal, it starts out that way. It's basically a travelogue for his fiancée, Mina. It's full of timetables, notes on geography, currency exchanges, but I want you to pay close attention to how quickly the facts he records begin to shift, from the totally mundane to the absolutely monstrous.
So let's trace his path. Munich, Vienna, Budapest, it all seems perfectly normal, right? But Harker, being the detailed observer he is, notes something crucial in his journal. He writes this: "The impression I had was that we were leaving the West and entering the East." Now listen to what he's really saying there. This isn't just about geography, it's a psychological shift. He can feel himself crossing a threshold, leaving behind the world of reliable train schedules and modern comforts, and entering a place where, as he puts it, the maps of his world, they're no longer reliable. He is, for all intents and purposes, going off the grid. And this is fascinating. This comes from Harker's own research. Like any good solicitor, he did his homework before the trip. But what he found wasn't some quaint corner of Europe. He was reading about the Sheklis, a people who, as he writes, claim direct descent from Attila the Hun. I mean, think about that for a second. He is knowingly walking into a land defined by centuries of the most brutal, warlike history imaginable, a place whose entire identity is forged in conquest and bloodshed. This isn't just a business trip anymore. It's a journey into a historical war zone. And right here, this is where things start to get really strange. As Harker reaches Bistritz, that final stop before the castle, the abstract danger he read about in books, it suddenly becomes terrifyingly real. All at once, this man of logic is surrounded by a raw, primal, and totally inexplicable fear. The warnings aren't historical accounts anymore. He can see them, he can feel them in the eyes of every single person he meets. This moment, this is profoundly disturbing. A complete stranger, the innkeeper's wife, is on her knees, begging him not to go. When he insists that he must, her fear is so overwhelming that she literally forces her own crucifix into his hands, she hangs her rosary around his neck, and her plea, "For your mother's sake." That's not just a casual warning. That is a primal, desperate appeal from one human being to another, telling him that he is walking into a danger so profound, so awful, that she cannot even speak its name. She knows what's waiting for him up there. And you can just see the conflict tearing him apart right here on the page in his own handwriting. On one side, you've got the rational, modern Englishman. He looks at this crucifix and his cultural programming just kicks in. He sees it as idolatrous, an object of superstition. But on the other side is the undeniable evidence of his own senses. That woman's terror was real. The fear in this village is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And so he's forced to write it down, to admit that his own confidence is shattering. This right here is the first major crack in his armor. The fear is starting to get in. But he goes. Of course he does. He ignores the warnings. A carriage meets him in the dead of night on a remote mountain pass and takes him to the castle. And there, he finally meets his client. And right away, his journal entries change. They become laser-focused. His observations are sharp, meticulous, almost like a scientist studying a new specimen, as he desperately tries to analyze the deeply strange and imposing figure of Count Dracula. This is our first description of the Count, taken directly from the evidence file. And I want you to look at the words Harker chooses. It's not a firm mouth, it's a hard-looking mouth. The lips aren't just red, they are very red. And the teeth, sharp-looking, as white as ivory. These are not the words you use to describe a gentleman. This is the language of a predator. Every single detail his pen captures is animalistic, sharp, and dangerous. And then the Count begins to speak about his family. And believe me, this isn't a normal discussion of a family tree. This is a threat. He's boasting, proudly connecting his own bloodline to the most violent figures in history and myth. He's talking about werewolves, about berserker fury. He literally says that the blood of Attila the Hun is flowing in these veins. He is looking Jonathan Harker square in the eye and telling him, "I come from a long line of monsters."
And you can almost feel Harker struggling to process all of this. His rational mind is just scrambling to file it all away. He writes in his journal, "He must be a very peculiar man." It's such a desperate attempt to normalize an impossible situation. But his own meticulous note-taking, the very thing that makes him such a good solicitor, it betrays him, because he also records this undeniable, unsettling fact. It is strange that as yet I have not seen the Count eat or drink. It's just a simple observation, a piece of evidence that doesn't fit, and it suggests the Count isn't just peculiar, it suggests he might not be human at all. The business gets concluded. All the papers are signed. In Harker's mind, his job is done. He should be packing his bags, preparing to leave. But it is precisely at this moment that the nature of his situation shifts irrevocably. The thin, fragile veneer of hospitality just dissolves, and Harker begins to understand, with a cold, sinking horror, that he is not a guest here. He's a prisoner.
And right there, that's the sound of the cage door slamming shut, the Count's language. It becomes absolute. He says, "I desire it much. Nay, I will take no refusal." He's not asking, he's not even suggesting. He is issuing a command. All pretense of choice is gone. This is a jailer speaking to his inmate, and Harker feels it instantly. He writes that his heart grew cold at the thought. He knows now. He is trapped. And just look at how the reality of his prison is confirmed piece by agonizing piece. First, there's the command to stay. Then there's the look in the Count's eyes, something that tells him this is not a request. After that, the psychological chains go on. He's told his letters home will be read, so his only link to the outside world is now censored, controlled. And finally, the physical reality. He explores the castle. Every single door is locked, and every window looks out over a sheer 1,000-foot drop. There is no way out. The cage is sealed. The moment he realizes he's a prisoner, the journal becomes something else entirely. The measured professional solicitor, he's gone. In his place is a terrified man, scrawling frantically, desperately trying to comprehend the creature that he is trapped with. What follows is his last coherent entry, a final, chilling testament to his absolute despair. This is the question that finally breaks him. It has to, because all of his modern rational frameworks have completely failed him. The Count isn't just peculiar. He isn't just a criminal. The evidence he has collected, the inhuman strength, the predatory features, the fact that he never eats, his absolute control over the castle, it all points to a conclusion that is totally impossible. And so he is forced to ask the one question that lies at the dark heart of all of this. What is this thing? Is it a man? Or is it something else, just wearing the shape of a man? And this is where the record ends. His final words. "I am in fear, in awful fear, and there is no escape for me." There's no more analysis, no more hope, just the absolute certainty of his own doom. The solicitor's journal has become a final cry for help into the void. And then, just nothing. The meticulous record of Jonathan Harker dissolves into pure terror, and then into silence, leaving us with only evidence file 42 and the terrible, unanswered question of what really happened to him inside that castle.